Greetings and welcome to the third edition of the Cheriza Report. It's always a pleasure to come to your living room, your dining room, your car, because you may be watching from your smartphone. Wherever you're watching, we glad that you are here, and because we want to work with you, we want to get you as much information as possible. We've said from the very beginning, this is a platform where we're gonna have uncomfortable conversation. We will push the envelope a little bit. We will ask questions, and sometimes those questions may be tough, but we want to have a conversation about the growth of the community. We believe that unless we are willing to talk about everything, we're not moving forward. So we need to see how do we grow and ask those questions from key players, from stakeholders. We will go to them, we will meet with them, and have this conversation. Today, we'll talk about a campaign that is very, very important, I believe, for the Haitian community. Back in 2016, I've advocated that because we are the leading ethnic group by nationality, we needed to be present, to be at the table, both at the Board of County Commissioners and the school board. We do have a Haitian running for the school board. And I wanted to bring her to the table today so that we can have a conversation about that campaign, about the challenges that she faces. And wherever you're watching from, you will come to your own conclusion and what you can do to support that campaign, because as large as we are as a community, we cannot rely on other people to be at the table and speak on our behalf. We need to have, and I believe we have, the people who can be there and speak about our issues, bring our issues to the table. We've seen a lot happening in the school district. Not long ago, there was a report from the school district that says Haitian students were not performing. Now, those issues, how do we understand them? We have an influx of Haitian coming through the borders or through the Biden programs. And these students, these kids, they need new accommodation, because they're coming from a different school system, and they need to be something to help them adjust. And I believe that if we have someone at the table, then it makes it easier to have those conversations. This is the candidate we have, if you can see it, CHARMAN POSTEL. She's running for District 5. That's the Boca Raton area. CHARMAN, welcome to the Cheriza Report. We're glad to have you. Why don't you first tell our viewers who you are and why you're running for office?
Absolutely. So good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Cheriza. Thank you to Diaspora TV and to those who have invited me here to have a conversation with the viewers, and most importantly to your viewers, thank you for watching and listening. My name is CHARMAN POSTEL. I'm a mother of 4 that lives in Boca Raton, Florida. I have a son that recently graduated from high school. I have 3 other children in the system, elementary, middle, and high school. I simply took the baton. I said that, I saw some things that was in need. Our 3rd graders' literacy rates, our 10th grade reading rates, and I said it's time to do something. In the climate of education right now, where we are seeing many people say, you know what, forget it. Whether it's teachers, administrators, they're retiring early and they're dropping that baton, but we don't have enough people with the focus and the eyes on education that are actually doing that work. So I said, you know what, I'm going to pick up the baton and I'm going to give it what I got, and I'm going to focus on, a couple of things, and so things that matter. And so my candidacy is focused on academic excellence. It's focused on mental health and resiliency, teacher support and resources, and for sure that parent involvement and engagement component.
You're running for a district that is very very unique. Unique in the sense that the person who has that seat right now is not running for re-election.
Correct.
But this is somebody who is leaving his print on the school district. He was at one point even chair of the school board, vice chair. But when I look at your background, I believe you're the youngest running
Yes.
right now, and but you've been involved.
Yes.
Not only you have your children in the school district in the public school, but you're also somebody who's been volunteering. Tell us about those exposure that you had with the school system, and what did you learn from that exposure?
For 13 years, the last 13 years that my first son, entered the school district, I've been volunteering at the school district of Palm Beach County through various capacities. I've been an advocate for children, parents, and teachers through Parent-Teacher Association, where we advocate not only at the local level, but at the state and national level, and at the county level, advocating for needs to address our educational infrastructure. I've been, for the last 13 years, involved as an advisory academic excellence. Currently, I'm the chair of the Academic Advisory Committee. I'm the vice chair for the District Diversity and Equity Committee. Some of the things that we have been involved in is writing policies to bring forth before the board, addressing the board about certain concerns such as, diversity and disproportionality of children being Baker Act, and disproportionality in achievement gaps between Black, predominantly Haitian students. And so those are some of the things that we have been done. And then I totally missed that second part of that question. If you can repeat that second part of that question.
Yeah. So because we'll get to it, because I just wanted for people to understand that you've been there.
Oh, absolutely.
That you've seen it, because oftentimes people run for office out of nowhere. But I wanted people to get a sense that there's some exposure. And the second part was, what have you learned from the system that you think that you are uniquely qualified to help address?
I will say one of the things that I've learned, I want to just take back and answer that question, the first part of a question. I want to add on to that, and I want to share how not only am I the youngest that is running in the seat, I am the only candidate in this seat that has been doing this work from different capacities and different lenses for the last 13 years, for the last decade. And so it goes into your second part of the question. One of the things that I've learned as a parent, that there is not as much transparency between the parents and the school. There is a lack of parent engagement. We may have involvement. We may go to the school every once in a while, we may have engagement but not have involvement. We may go to the school and we may pass out candy and we may volunteer as a parent-teacher association, but what we're not doing is actually seeing exactly how our children are performing in school.
Right.
We're receiving letters at the last minute. So from a parent perspective and a parent's lens, that's what I'm seeing, where parents are not as involved as we think they are. But there is direct studies and correlation that says when parents are involved and engaged, there's a higher chance for that child to be successful in school and through their education.
Right.
So through a substitute lens, what I have noticed from that lens and perspective is that we're really not enforcing policy in our districts. We have policies in place. We have a slew of policies, but we can do better, and we can, with the help of and collaborative efforts of the community and the teachers and administrators, and as well as the school district, we can do a lot better in enforcing some of the policies that are in place and addressing some of the disparities that are in place.
Okay. The Palm Beach Post recently published an article where they say the next school board will be tasked with maintaining stability and improving the school district grade from the state to A from a B. So currently your standing is at a B. What do you think could be done to help improve the academic standing of the Palm Beach School District?
Well, the first thing I would say is identifying where these achievement gaps are in and at. You know, oftentimes we will take a look at a school that is predominantly stereotyped to be a low-performing school. However, there are schools within a school, and I truly believe that taking a look at those schools, you know, you could take a look at, and I'll go on record to say, Boca Raton High School. That is a school. However, when you take a look and you do a deeper dive of the subgroups, will all of those subgroups have an A rating? So I think taking a look at some of those, first assessing where the needs are, and then working with the district and the district staff at the district to address the concerns at the individual schools.
Yeah, and I remember from your flyer, I see from your flyers, you identified 4 basic areas that would be your priority.
Absolutely.
Academic excellence, teacher support and resource, mental health and resiliency, parental involvement. Let's talk about mental health and resilience. Why do you think at this point this should be a priority for the school district?
It is, one, the school effectiveness questionnaire tells us that it is a priority. The teachers, the parents, and the students complete a questionnaire every year, twice a year. Now, this past school year, we've had the school effectiveness questionnaire where over 30% of students didn't believe they had at least one trusted adult at the schools. That's a problem, because I can bet the last dollar if you take a look at those same students, where you would ask those students, how many of those students have a trusted adult at home? That would be a high number. That doesn't have a trusted adult. So if that student doesn't have a trusted adult at home, that student doesn't have a trusted adult at the school, how is that child able to learn? Mental bullying issues, still common, still real in our schools. So it is, if students don't have the mental capacity to be a whole child, how can they actually learn? How can they perform? So that's a priority, not only children, but adults, the teachers in our schools. They're struggling with, you know, just everyday issues, inflation, high rises in rent, high prices in rent with low percentage and increase in their pay. You know, so they're dealing with real life issues that all of the children, the teachers, administration, they're bringing these concerns into the schools in their own way, whether it's through attitudes, whether it's through academic performance. So if we don't address the mental health issues in our schools, and we don't continue to advocate with the state legislators and pushing additional support for mental health, we're going to see ourselves in a deeper hole than we are in.
We're gonna talk about strategy for the campaign, but there's this question that I'd like to have your take on. The legislature mandate that we change the scheduling of the schools, and so there's a lot of behind the scene efforts to see what's that gonna look. Where do you stand on this?
So I can tell you, Dr. Cheriza, I was one of the parents and one of the many groups, part of the groups that advocated for a later start time for high school students. And I do believe that this legislation in part stems from that legislation that was very favorable in a bipartisan stance, where, you know, both sides agreed that we needed later start times for high school. But as recently, and we see that when we take a look at the Department of Education, and in some instances our governor, when they take one thing, they just take a mile and go the extra mile with that one thing. And so while I support later start time for high school, I don't support some of the legislations that require and put a restraint on our local schools and our local school district to tell us exactly what times and how we should be maneuvering our schools. There's never going to be a right answer. There's not, whether it's option A, B, C, there's not going to be a right answer.
Right.
I can tell you an option that they don't have on the table is an option that my children currently have that currently meets the mandates. My elementary students go to school at 8 o'clock. My middle school students go to school at 9:30, and my high school students go to school at 8:30. That currently meets the mandate, but will that work for every community?
Right.
No. So there's not going to be a right answer. I do believe that we could have left elementary and middle school alone and focus on the high schools that needed later start times for various factors that was in place.
So you mentioned something. It's the influence of the governor.
Yes.
And the election. It's almost as if there's like a proxy campaign where you have issues that are very close to the governor's heart, who becomes part of the conversation. You had issues with which book you select. You have a lot of issues that the school district was dealing with based on the perspective of the governor's own perception of what needs to happen. How do you address that and bring it to the table and allow the district itself to have this autonomy to say this is what worked for us within the framework set up by the legislature?
Dr. Cheriza, to be honest, districts all over the state of Florida have been saying just that, like, hey, we have control over this, we have control, but a minority group of people who feel like you don't have control can, at the drop of a dime, be vetoed through the governor. So I think working with legislators, and the importance is where we're not focused on, electing just anyone, but we're doing our homework and seeing who exactly are we putting in legislation, because ultimately they're going to be that voice that is closest to the governor.
Right.
And so I think that is going to be one of the things that we're going to have to do, because at the end of the day, that a school board member or superintendent or anyone at the school district can't address this concern because it's state mandated.
Right.
And so their jobs are on the line. They're fearful because their jobs are on the line.
Right.
So these are going to be things that are simply where we are focusing and working together collaboratively with our unions, with our legislators, and coming to a bipartisan agreement that says, hey, Governor, this is what we believe that our local government needs and the autonomy that they should have, and then do the right thing. If the governor is not abiding by what a bipartisan agreement can come through, maybe it's time that we need a new governor.
Right. Do you think that politics right now is too much politics that influencing the decision about education?
100%. Currently in November, we have on the ballot where we are proposing partisanships in our schools, in our school boards. That's a real issue. We have children and teachers and everyone in different backgrounds, cultures, political affiliations. We don't need political influences or agendas in our schools. We need to be focusing on educating our students. And so I think we need to go away with some of the political influences that are infiltrating our schools and allow our children and our families to get back to the core of what education in this nation was supposed to be.
Yeah, it shows that you have a lot of passion for education. You have a comment of the issues. What would it take for someone like you to get elected?
It's going to take, a lot of prayer. Let's start with that. It's going to take, for sure, the votes of the voters. In order to get to the votes of the voters, there is no mistake, and I am a Black woman by the skin color, a Haitian American woman, and that is not typically what you would see in that seat. So I have to reach the voters, and in order to reach the voters, I'm going to have to knock on doors, canvass. I'm going to have to reach them by phone banking. I am going to have to reach them in other means by television and radio and mailers, and those things cost money.
Right.
So two things that it's going to come down to in order to get to this seat is money and votes.
Yeah, and this is an uphill battle because you have you're running against is it like three people at this point?
I'm running against now 4 people.
4 people, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, and some of them may have more money than you have right now.
Absolutely.
So you're at the point where people who are watching and who feel that you have that command of the issues and who wants to see you on that seat, they need to reach out and say, hey, how I can help.
Absolutely.
Okay. And
Absolutely.
so you are in Boca.
I am in Boca.
And how many votes you think you need to? What do you have a set goals in terms of how many votes you need to win?
Our goal is we want at least 37,000 votes to win.
37,000.
Yes, we know that this is compared to our primaries in 2020, which is an election, which was an election year. Comparing that, we need at least 37,000 votes to win. It's a crowded race, so you know, of course, we would like 52% of the votes, but if we can get to the top 2 in August and go for a runoff in November, I think we'll be in a good spot.
So, money-wise, how much money that you think you would need to be very competitive?
I think I need at least $50,000 during this election to August 20th in order to have a very competitive, because the strikes are already against me. Again, my background, new candidate. We have candidates that are simply name recognition just because of, you know, their relatives that have worked in the district, you know, in high positions. We have candidates who are running that has name recognition because of negative impacts or whatever it is that they were in. So I think it's going to be important for me to raise at least $50,000 to reach all of those voters.
Yeah, and I mean, I wanna be honest and upfront. You have one person who ran last time, so she has a sense of what's in that district.
Correct.
That doesn't mean she's the right person for the position, but she has that experience running for that district. You have people who, for example, were involved in the democratic politics, and they have the name recognition. They can pick up the phone and say, "Hey, we need your support." You're the only, and if I'm correct, this is the first time we have a candidate of Haitian background for this seat. So you do need people to come out and support. What is the, as you go out there and talk to people and you talk to voters, what's the response to the fact that you are running young, Haitian, yet very articulated? What's the response?
So what I've been receiving, even as soon as July 4th, going out and canvassing in the various 4th of July events, the main thing that I've been receiving is, oh my gosh, we need this breath of fresh air. You know, we need young people to step up and, you know, take the baton, which I've been saying since day one on April 15th. I've taken the baton. So I think that's one of the big things that people are saying. We need new blood. We need fresh eyes. We need people who are not recruited by any political, you know, affiliations or agendas. We need people who are actually parents. We need people who are about education and who didn't just miraculously come in the last year knowing that they were running. We need fresh blood who was really invested, and that's what they've been saying. And when I tell them, look, I've been invested for 13 years for free, they're like, you know, it's commendable. But I think I've received, for the most part, positive, very positive response.
So your election would be almost an upset, because that's how I see the challenge. Are you ready for it?
I am ready for it. I'm ready for the challenge, but you know, to Dr. Cheriza, I have been working collaboratively with upsets. as the Palm Beach County Council of Parent-Teacher Association, that was an upset. Overseeing over 62 schools with parent-teacher associations inside of them. Currently, as a board of director with Florida Parent-Teacher Association, you know, these are all upsets. But you know what? This is exactly what mental health and resiliency look like. If I don't keep going, there is no resiliency. If I don't stand up for something, win or lose, if I don't stand up for something, what do my children look up to? So at the end of the day, whether it's an upset, I'm ready for that challenge because something has to be done. And it's one of those fights. If you fight and you give 100%, you fall short, you can still walk with your head up high.
Right. And of the 4 priorities that you have, the other candidates, some of them they mention teacher support and resources. They mention academic excellence, and to a certain degree they talk about. I noticed that many people are talking about mental health. What is, if you were talking to someone who's still undecided and who's looking at this many candidates, what is one thing about you that you would say, this is the thing that make a difference, and this is why you should vote for me and not the other candidates?
I would go back, if I had to go back to my priorities, I would go back to the academic excellence. My focus with academic excellence is a little different than my opponents. My focus with academic excellence is expanding VPK programs and preschool programs and dual enrollment programs. I have the experience working and seeing the data and taking a look at that data, doing deeper dives with that data from the Department of Education. I have different lens that I'm wearing. While parents, while there are candidates that have children in the district, I will say that as a candidate, I am the only candidate with parent lens that is working directly in a collaborative effort with the the Classroom Teacher Association, with the school district, boundary changes. I'm the only one with those experience. And quite frankly, I'm the one that has had those experience within the last 13 years. Not something that, yes, we have an opponent with 41 years of teaching experience, but was that within the last 10 years? So that's what we have to ask that question. I am the only candidate that can work. I won't say I'm the only candidate. I am the candidate that have shown to work collaboratively with all parents, all teachers, all stakeholders, and have a diverse background in reaching diverse communities. And of course, speaking 2 languages is a bonus. I think I might be the only candidate that is bilingual.
So the school district will have to make a number of decisions in the next, the next school board will have to make those decisions related to voucher. Where do you stand on those issues, especially the voucher expansion of a voucher program? How do you think the people that you represent will benefit from that, or do you think it's time to just focus on improving academics within the school district, but not diverting money towards voucher?
Well, there was a ruling that kind of put us in a bind that we have to divert the, we have to focus on the funds with the charter schools, and charter schools are part of our school district system. So we will continue to do that work that we have been collaboratively working with charter schools. But as it relates to private schools, I think we would, again, when the state ties your hand and you have to do something, you have to do it. But advocating for accountability, the same accountability that our public schools have, should be infiltrated or influenced at that private school level. If the vouchers, the accountability is that we need to know exactly where their funds are, what they're doing with those funds. We should have those numbers. We should know where their funds are going. If we can't, in the public school system, spend money on flat screen televisions and trips to Disney, as the reports have showed, then no money that is being, no state money, no dollars from homeowners should be going towards flat screens and Disney trips. So I think that level of accountability, the same level of accountability that we are expecting from our public schools, should be expected from anyone who is receiving vouchers. But definitely advocating for, if you choose to send your child to a private school, you know, that is your choice. Just as if you choose to homeschool your child, that is your choice. That is not public school, so our public school dollars should not be going to private schools. I don't believe it should be.
When you look at the functioning of the school board right now, what is one thing or several things that you see that need to change once you get there, or do you think that they're doing okay? They just need that fresh perspective. They need that new blood that can say, "Hey, I'm gonna bring new thing on the table." How do you see it?
I think it's both. I think they need a fresh perspective, not just me, but fresh perspective from the community, fresh perspective from parents and from community partners and other stakeholders. But also, I also think that there needs to be a collaborative effort and less silo work at the district. That's one of the things that I see. There's a lot of silo work, and people, you know, this committee is doing this, and these staffs over here are working over here. But bringing everyone together collaboratively and understanding all of the inner workings is going to be something that if I get in, I would want to see a better collaborative effort and getting solutions and being more proactive.
And when you watch the district, okay, yeah, you realize you would be very much different. Are you mentally preparing yourself to functioning with a group of people maybe much older? The skin color may be different. We don't even know if some of the people who are here now, I believe Marsha Andrews is going to a runoff. So how do you prepare yourself for that challenge?
So currently I work very well with every school board member right now.
Okay.
You know, I currently work, we've had collaborative efforts, whether it's Marsha Andrews, Karen Brill, we've had conversations, we sit down, I have their phone numbers. I work with them very well. I work with district staffs very well, the superintendent. I have a relationship that is not something that I'm going to have to foster. It already exists.
Okay. How do people get in touch with your campaign?
Of course, they can certainly go to www.postelfordistrict5.com. That's www.postelfordistrict5.com. You can also call me. I have my phone that is always available, 561-400-3127. That's 561-400-3127. And you can also find me on Facebook or Instagram under Postel for District 5 as well.
There you have it. Another conversation. I hope it was enlightening. I hope you learned a lot from our guests. And we give you, we hope we will find you next week for another conversation to help strengthen this community. This is the Cheriza Report.